It's the next day in the morning, and today I want to get started digging the soil and planting all my plants and seeds. Okay, next up is marking the spot and then digging up the grass. Gonna mark it with some sticks so I know roughly what the area is, and then I'm just gonna start digging. So we said about 1 meter by 50 centimeters. That is something like this. Just gonna put the handle of the fork here, which is about 1 meter long. And then 50 centimeters across, which is here. Gonna put this handle of this shovel here. Now here's a look close up of what I just did. I removed the top layer with the grass and its roots. What's really important is that there's still a lot of good soil that is intertwined and connected with these roots, and you really want to loosen it all up and put it back in so it doesn't dry out, and we make use of all of that. Now that's what I'm going to do next, is to just separate the roots from the soil and also pick out all of the roots that are lying around here, so it's a really clean patch and it doesn't have a chance to regrow. Okay, so I separated the soil from the grass here and put this to the side for later use for mulch. And it looks like a okay soil. It's just really compacted here because also this area was grazed by cows that were compacting this over decades. So next I'm gonna loosen the soil up with this pickaxe or the digging fork. If you have one of these broad forks that are very popular in permaculture, you could use that, or if you even have a motorized roto hoe to loosen up your soil, of course, that would also speed up the process. But that's what I have and that's what I'm gonna do. I've loosened up the soil with my pickaxe. As you can see, there were a lot of big stones in this, which made it quite hard to dig it up, and it was really compacted. And also there were still a lot of roots hidden in the soil, which I took out. So now we have a really nice fluffy soil and more space below the surface to put the plants in. What's important now is once you have the soil loosened up, that you don't step on it at all. So I'm gonna put these logs all around the bed in order to protect the soil and to have something to kneel on and to have it encircled. All right, so next step would be planting. Before planting, I just want to make sure I have all the plants ready to go in the soil, prepared. And that's what I'm going to do now. For example, I have these comfrey roots that I'm going to separate into individual pieces so I can plant them one by one. And as well with these cuttings, I want to make them some 30-40 centimeter long cuttings with several buds that I can stick into the ground, and then we're good to go. Now let's get to the planting. When we plant, we want the permanent species the trees and the shrubs all in one line. That makes it easier to recognize and also easier to manage. And the other species, the support species that we're gonna prune and things that we're gonna pull out when we harvest, like vegetables or beans or anything like that, we want them on the sides. So we don't cut the permanent trees when they're still young by accident. So I placed my pots here on the line where I want to plant them. This is a loquat tree. This is a sprouting avocado tree that I dug out from the compost. Another loquat tree. Here's a little oak. This is a raspberry. And here another loquat tree and geranium. So this would be my principal line of fruit trees. So next up, I will insert my cuttings of fruit trees, and I will insert them about 2/3 of its length into the soil at a 45-degree angle. That's what that looks like. You've seen I've stuck them into the soil 45 degrees in both ways, so there's chance of them all growing. Now, these are pointing west and those are pointing east. Ideally, they would be pointing south towards the camera here, where the sun comes from, so that the bark would not be exposed to the sun like this, which makes it dry out faster because it's heating up. So ideally, I can show you by moving. If the sun is coming from here, you see the impact of the sun would be way less superficial. Next up is the comfrey, the lords and ladies, and some strawberries, which I'm gonna plant on the empty spots next to the line on the one side and the other side. All right, now we're done with the planting. Next up is sowing seeds. For that, I have prepared a mix of stuff that I have collected, the avocado pips, chestnuts, berries from shrubs from the region around here, feijoa fruit, which I'm gonna take the seeds out and sow them as well, a variety of beans and lentils as nitrogen fixers, and here all kinds of spices from the spice rack from the pantry as well. Let's see. Again, this is what it looks like in the close-up. I've sprinkled a bunch of seeds and planted shrubs and trees all in between. Looks like a little galaxy of stars, these little seeds, pretty much to cover all the empty soil that is still there, so that we can capture all the photosynthesis, all the sun, and all the germination properties that are coming with sprouting. Another thing I wanted to put in, I only have these as seeds, but these are eucalyptus tree seeds that I want to plant, and this is because they have really strong deep tap roots that can break up the soil, but we're not gonna use this for growing paper or producing toilet paper. We're gonna phase those out once they're, well, 6 or 10 years old. So they're gonna leave the system and are just there as a mulch species for chop and drop and support species to help the other plants grow while we're chopping them, and then they leave. They've done their job. All right, after sowing, I'm just going to cover the soil a little bit with this loose leftover soil that I have, a little bit of compost, and a little bit of cow manure, just to give it a nice kickstart. Compost and other degrading organic material, of course, adds a lot of microbial and fungal life, which we want. We can use that and invite them in. Okay, so next up, I'm gonna use these wooden sticks that I prepared earlier to also border them all around, inside and outside of the bed, in order to also invite fungi and fungal species to come and colonize it and help building up the soil. And then I'm gonna use a mix of this leftover compost, some leaf mold, grass, and nettles. Gonna mix them all and also put that on top of these wood sticks as a mulch. All right, it started raining now, so I have to stop working, but basically I'm done. This is what it looks like now. I have encircled my planting with sticks and nettle grass compost mix all around like a donut. And yeah, what's important is also to cover the soil a little bit inside in the center line, but not too much, so that the seeds can sprout. They still see the light, and all the other plants like the strawberries and the comfrey, they can also come out. So that's it for today. All in all, it took me from about 9:30 until 2 with a little tea break, and also all the kind of removing for the camera and all that preparation. But all in all, it's totally doable in, say, half a day. What's missing now is that I pruned the taller plants that I planted in order to give them more stimulation for growth and regrowth and adaptation into the soil. So let's go and do that with our snippers. I'm gonna cut a few of these geranium leaves here. Few of the leaves of my loquat. The lords and ladies, I'm also gonna trim the bigger ones here and leave the smaller ones to resprout. And I'm gonna put those leaves on the side here to mulch. Here too, cut a bit the bigger leaves to also help it with the transplantation shock. To wrap this up, I wanted to give you a few points. So the idea is, if we do it like this, the explosion of creative life is just inevitable, and the whole stability of the system and the plants supporting each other, it's just gonna thrive. The high diversity of the plants and seeds that we've put in, it will just show what works in this climate, at this stage of succession, with this soil. And from then on, we can manage the system and bring it forward in the succession and speed it up. If some plants are planted too dense or are coming out from seeds too dense, remember, you always have your scissors, so you can prune them and use it for mulch, and just make space and light for the other plants as well. But it's a good problem to have, to select the plants that need to go out than the other way around, that you didn't plant it dense enough and there is sun hitting the soil and photosynthesis is being lost. And also the plants help each other when they're growing, when they're in growth mode, and when they're sprouting, just through the root hormones. So high density and diversity is key. If you want to give this yourself a shot, try to follow these steps. Number 1, prepare all the materials and tools and plants in advance, maybe one day in advance. Number 2, at the day of planting, try to open the soil, plant your plants and seeds, and close the soil and mulch it all in one day, just to prevent your soil from degrading and losing all this life that there is, the microbial life and all the invertebrate, and also the loss of moisture in the soil. When you're done with planting, the next day maybe you can prune your taller plants or fruit trees to give them another stimulation for growth and for root growth and top growth as well. So if you want to give it a try, you'll find a link in the description below with a more detailed checklist about the steps and the materials that you need. And I hope you find it helpful and you can go out and plant with that and enjoy your first Syntropic line as well. Thank you and see you in the next one. Bye.